Good morning, y'all. It's another edition of the Morning Espresso here on the SDH Network, where we are around the corner from everywhere. The Morning Espresso is brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. The game never stops, neither do we. There's a ton to get into today. A historic MLS announcement late yesterday. Apple TV expanding access to Major League Soccer matches on their platforms. World Cup qualifiers across every corner of the globe. Some big U.S. soccer honors announced for 2026 as well. Let's dive right in, and we're going to start with the new calendar for Major League Soccer. They officially made the change beginning in 2027 to shift to a July start, May conclusion to the calendar with a winter break. I think that's been lost from some. There's not going to be games in January, just like there's not games in January now. The calendar will sync with most of the world's major leagues, something that has been up for debate for quite a while. There's a lot of reasons why the calendar is what it is currently, and a lot of those reasons don't necessarily apply anymore, and other reasons have become more important in when matches should be played in Major League Soccer. Evolution's a real thing, and I think what I've been very impressed with MLS since following it from before day one in 1996. This league has never allowed itself to get stuck in its ways. They've never done the, well, back in my day, and not change things. That is why MLS has grown the way that it has. And as we talked about yesterday on SDH PM, it's why Major League Soccer is the best startup league. I mean, you could say ever. I'm going to say in modern times. In the U.S., since the NBA was formed in the late 40s. In other parts of the world, leagues that have started since, there's not anything that really compares. And that's a credit to these kinds of bold decisions to make changes when needed. Don Garber said it's one of the most important decisions in league history. I totally agree. It is a big step. It's not the only step. That is absolutely fair. But is a big step to the next level of growth for MLS. Here's how it's set to work right now. The season will begin in July, probably late in the month. A little bit earlier than I thought it might be, and I think the reason why is it gives you a little more flexibility to take that winter break, which will start about mid-December, so roughly when the week after MLS Cup would be right now on the calendar. And the winter break will end in mid-February, which is about where you start right now. Maybe it starts a week earlier, the week after the Super Bowl. I think that should be a really good goal. The season will end with playoffs in May, which is great. They won't be interrupted by international breaks. 91% of matches are played in the current portion of the calendar. I think for anybody who says this is super disruptive and such a big change, it's 91% played in the same portion that it is now. You might be talking about an extra week in December. You might be talking about an extra week in February. And your trade-off is, especially for the December portion and the November portion, which a lot of people have talked about, you're able to schedule this. These aren't playoff games where teams are going to have to play the biggest games of the year in potentially not great weather. You're going to start your season in great weather. Maybe it's going to be hot in some places. I think we always talk about, oh, cold, that's bad. What about heat? That's bad. Like, hello. You know, us down here in the South, our friends over in Texas are going to say, wait a minute. Do you want to come sit outside in 100 degrees in July? That's not fun either. But here's the thing. Because of the way this calendar is going to work now, you're going to be able to choose and structure when teams host games at suboptimal times. You're not going to have Minnesota play a whole bunch of home games in December. You can literally choose to put them on the road in that portion, just like you do right now in your first week or two of the season in February. You're going to be able to start in better weather and finish in better weather. That's very, very important. And here's the other thing, and this is the most important thing. And yes, it is very important. I've seen some people complaining and saying that by saying this, you're saying that fans buying tickets are less important than this, and nobody's saying that. Again, 91% of the matches are played in the same portion of the calendar. It is impossible to make it perfect. It's impossible. There's going to be other things going on. The weather is the weather that's out of your control. This is better, in my opinion, from a weather and from a calendar perspective. But yes, here is the biggest reason. You're going to do more business in the transfer market this way. And when fans and media want to see teams spend more and sell more to spend more, but you can't because of the way the calendar aligns right now. If you're demanding more transfer business, this will allow you to do that. You're going to be better aligned with global transfer windows. There's talk about keeping the window open a little bit longer than the top 5 European leagues. Turkey does that right now, for example. Turkey, the window stays open, I think, an extra week typically. You might be able to benefit from a little bit of that. It's worthwhile. It's worth doing. I think it's a good idea. You're also going to be able to avoid international breaks much easier in this kind of setup. It's a hybrid, and I said it yesterday, it's a hybrid a little bit of the way that England structures their calendar and the way that Germany structures theirs. It's a longer winter break than Germany currently has. I think you have to here because of weather. It's a little bit longer season, and then with playoffs, that makes it longer here, and you have the cup competitions as well that will go alongside it, and that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I like it. I was not on board with this change maybe 5 years ago. I am now because of where the league has grown to. Yes, there's going to be talk about what teams like Toronto and Minnesota and Montreal do to manage this, but I don't think it is as disruptive as some have portrayed it to be, because when those teams, Minnesota's in the midst of it right now, Toronto has won MLS Cups in cold weather. When those teams have to play now because they make the playoffs, they handle training, they handle it. It's okay. They'll be able to train. It's not going to be that disruptive. Again, let's do the flip side, because I've been at training sessions here in Atlanta in the middle of July where it's brutal, and they're trying to have training as early as possible, which is also disruptive to try to avoid the heat of the day. That's part of this conversation as well. So, very, very interesting move yesterday. I think the vote, according to Don Garber, was overwhelmingly supportive. He didn't commit to it being unanimous, which I don't think it has to be anymore with the size of the league. Also, in the reporting, it's not approved yet, but there is an expectation that Eastern and Western conferences will be phased out, and it'll be a single table format with scheduling in regional divisions, pods, where you'll play everybody in your division twice and you'll play everybody else once. So then Supporters Shield means a little bit more. I like it. I wish this had happened in 2026, where it would have been perfect to do. It's not. It's going to happen in 2027. That's okay. There will be a short, they're calling it a sprint season. It needs a better name. It needs needs some crazy branding around it, because it's going to be fun. It needs a crazy name for the Cup. About 14 games in the first portion of 2027, and then a playoff and knockout tournament to determine a one-time champion of this. Going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to that because of the chaos. I'm looking forward overall to the calendar change because I think it will improve the league. Also, what will improve the league is MLS and Apple dropping MLS Season Pass. If you are an Apple TV subscriber, you will have access to Major League Soccer matches. So it's like F1 and Major League Baseball on Apple. That's a good thing. Everything will be available to anyone with an Apple TV subscription. That's a good thing. I think this is something that has been a little bit of a barrier when it comes to MLS and Apple TV. That is now removed. Also, there's a very cool bundle deal that's been agreed to, as Simon Evans pointed out, with Peacock. I think it's $14.99 a month to get Peacock and Apple TV. So that gets you Premier League, that gets you NBA on Peacock, that gets you so much more for a very good price that a lot of people are frankly already paying if they watch the Premier League. So I think this is good. It's MLS telling the world, it's Apple TV telling the world, like, we're in this together, we're accessible, we're global, and we're here for the long haul. I like it. Let's go to World Cup qualifying. Concacaf was Concacaf last night. I mean, we talked about it yesterday on the Espresso. We talked about it on SDHPM with all of the crazy things. We got Interpol alerts on players. We got banners saying things that I can't repeat about teams coming in to their country. All kinds of stuff. Concacaf lived up to it last night. Suriname, one of the most compelling underdogs right now. Big win for them. Richanel Margaret scored twice in a 2-minute burst. They beat El Salvador 4-0. They are level on 9 points with Panama and ahead on goal differential. Suriname was a founding nation in CONCACAF in 1961. They have never been this close to getting to a World Cup. Panama gets to that spot with a crazy win over Guatemala. They had a 2-0 lead. Then Guatemala scored twice quickly to come back and make it 2-2. Then Panama found a third. That eliminates Guatemala from getting to the World Cup. Panama and Suriname right there next to each other, but Suriname has the advantage on goal differential. Curacao, they are coached by Dick Advocaat, who's coached everybody in the world, I think. They hammered Bermuda, who's been terrible, 7-0. They will face Jamaica in Kingston on Tuesday with a spot in the World Cup on the line. Jamaica has to win. Curacao gets in with a draw. A Caribbean rivalry with World Cup qualifying and history on the line. Curaçao's never been to a World Cup. Jamaica hasn't been since 1998. Group C, C stands for chaos. Nicaragua, who's eliminated. They beat the group leaders Honduras yesterday 2-0. Haiti, they beat Costa Rica in Curacao. Honduras and Haiti are both on 8 points. Costa Rica's on 6. 3 teams with a shot to earn the automatic qualification. Everything hits the fan on Tuesday, maybe possibly including a Costa Rican journalist if Miguel Herrera gets too close. He was asked if he was going to resign, and he said, hey, the president's sitting over there. Why don't you ask him? I already told you I'm not resigning. Typical Piojo. We'll see what happens here because we'll get you set up for all of the CONCACAF games on Monday and Tuesday because there will be storylines on storylines. CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, it can't be beat. All the games in the final round of games will be at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. Just go ahead and book it. Be ready in front of Paramount Plus for that one. Let's go to Europe for World Cup qualifying. France, they clinched their spot on a night that honored the victims of the 2015 Paris attacks. Kylian Mbappe scored twice before exiting camp today with an ankle injury. France is in. Portugal, they saw Cristiano Ronaldo sent off for the first time in 226 international matches after VAR caught him throwing a pretty cheap elbow. Ireland was already in control. They have a very good shot now after Troy Parrott's brace. They beat Portugal 2-0. Norway, they are all but in for their first World Cup since 1998. Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard, they are right on the doorstep. Italy has to beat Norway, I think, by 9, if I can do math properly, because of the goal difference, because they play Norway. Norway has, I think, 18 goals difference in goal difference. But every goal, if Italy beats Norway, will count 1 for the positive for Italy and 1 for the negative for Norway. So they have to win by 9-0. You know, that's totally possible. Gennaro Gattuso not happy about anything. He's complaining about the qualification format and, frankly, looking a little foolish because Italy hasn't qualified in the last 2 formats. So what's the complaint? Yes, it's difficult, but you have a playoff that you will go into if you get through, and you can go talk to Luciano Spalletti about getting blown out in Norway so badly in their first meeting between these 2 teams. England, they beat Serbia. England was already in. 7 wins on 7. No goals conceded for England. The loss for Serbia and Albania getting a win. Albania is going into the UEFA playoff. They have a chance to get to their first World Cup. The story of the round, depending on what happens today, could be the Faroe Islands. 55,000 people population. Your players, it's teachers, carpenters, furniture salesmen. The coach is a journalist who writes crime novels. They lost all of their 1994 qualifiers. They now need to win in Croatia, which will not be easy. Croatia leads the group. And then they still need some help to get into the playoffs. 4 wins in their last 5, though. They're believing in something bigger than those numbers. Something that comes from the heart, as their coach put it. Can't wait to see how this plays out. Let's go to Africa and Asia. You're down to the playoffs in both. Africa, Nigeria beat Gabon 4-1. They did need extra time for that. Victor Osimhen with 2 goals in extra time. They will face DR Congo, who beat Cameroon, the nation that's been to the World Cup the most out of any African nation. Cameroon was eliminated on a stoppage time winner from Chancel Mbemba. The winner of DR Congo and Nigeria will go into the Interconfederational playoff in March. Asia, 1-1 draw in the first leg between the UAE and Iraq. The return leg on Tuesday will decide who goes into that Interconfederation playoff and who is out. Northern Ireland, another one to watch today. They're playing Slovakia. It could be one of the biggest games in Northern Ireland in their national team history. They need at least a point to stay alive for second place in Group A. They still could get through in the Nations League backdoor playoff way because the Nations League thing for UEFA qualifying is really dumb. Yes, San Marino still has a chance because it's dumb. Silliness, San Marino might need to lose by a whole lot to get somebody else in a normal way. It's dumb. But Northern Ireland is still alive here. They're missing nearly their entire midfield from last month's win over Slovakia. Slovakia gets some players back from injury here. Michael O'Neill is trying to get his team focused for a huge, huge night for Northern Ireland tonight. Let's catch up on South America and the storylines as teams are playing friendlies at the moment. Carlo Ancelotti, he is continuing to put his stamp on the Brazilian national team. A loss last month against Japan where they blew a late lead. He's experimenting in this round of friendlies with Eder Militao at right back. He keeps referencing as well the 1994 Brazil team, which was more defensive than a lot of people liked. It had a solid structure, and it supported elite talent in front of that structure. He's also kind of just settling into life in Rio and in Brazil. He called the job a different kind of joy. Here's the funny thing about their friendly against Senegal on Saturday. Brazil's never beaten Senegal. One of the few teams that they've played that they've never beaten. We'll see what happens on Saturday. In Colombia, a lot of spotlight on Jorge Carrascal, who's stepping into it. Juanfer Quintero is out. Carrascal has been brilliant for Flamengo. Goals, assists. He starred against Santos and Neymar. He's caught Nestor Lorenzo's attention. He's gone from playing just purely as a 10 to a right winger in Brazil. That could open up some doors for him and Colombia going into 2026. The National Soccer Hall of Fame here in the U.S. announced their class of 2026. Heather O'Reilly headlines it, 231 caps for the U.S. women's national team, 3 Olympic gold medals, 2015 World Cup as well. Tobin Heath, one of the most talented technical players ever to play for the United States, men or women. She won World Cups in 2015 and 2019. One of the most influential playmakers of her era. Chris Wondolowski, he retired as MLS's all-time leading scorer with 171 goals. Relentless finishing, work rate, movement. He earned 35 U.S. caps as well. One of the all-time greats in Major League Soccer, Chris Wondolowski. Tony Sane, another one of the all-time greats. Key starter, and I thought had one of the best performances at a World Cup ever for the U.S. men's national team in 2002. Won back-to-back MLS Cups with DC United, made the move over to Europe and had a great career there. A foundational figure in early Major League Soccer, making the move up from the lower divisions early on in 1996 to join DC United. And he's also done amazing work in his community with the Tony Sane Foundation and giving kids more access to the game. Kevin Crowe, a dominant player in the indoor version of the game, 6 major indoor soccer league championships, represented the U.S. at the 1984 and 1988 Olympics, kind of bridged the gap between the indoor and outdoor games. Kevin Crowe, one of the all-time greats. He's going into the Hall of Fame, along with Cary Seitz, who officiated 4 Women's World Cups, 3 Olympics, one of the most accomplished referees in the world and a pioneer for women in refereeing. Here's your refill, rapid-fire news. South Korea, they beat Bolivia earlier today, 2-0. Son Heung-min with a free kick goal. They tested a back 4 setup as South Korea tries to build for the World Cup. Japan, they beat Ghana 2-0. Ghana still continuing to search for a little bit of rhythm here. Barcelona, they are hoping to get their city council approval to return to the Camp Nou by late November. Boca Juniors, they are planning to extend Claudio Ubeda, their current manager, through 2026. He took over after the passing of Miguel Angel Russo. Virginia and SMU, they will meet in the ACC men's soccer final in Cary, North Carolina over the weekend. Houston, their 2026 local World Cup organizing committee launched its Impact Houston Legacy program, which is focused on growing the game, sustainability, and human rights. Love to see these kind of programs getting launched around the World Cup in 2026. That is your Friday Morning Espresso. Massive MLS announcement. Global World Cup qualifiers. More to come today in Europe. Tension, dreams, chaos, Concacaf. Hall of Fame class that is very important to know and see honored here in the United States. Make sure you're following Soccer Down Here, at Soccer Down Here, on all your social media channels for all of the latest updates, interviews, match day coverage. We will have folks out in Athens for the University of Georgia's NCAA tournament match today. Really excited to see everything locally that we'll have on the SDH social media platforms over the weekend. Enjoy your soccer this weekend, whether it is of the local variety, of the World Cup qualifying variety, of the international friendly variety. Argentina's in Angola, the U.S. men's national team that will be in action as well. Get out and support soccer at all the different levels. Enjoy it, rest up, recharge, and we will see you back here for a fresh morning espresso on Monday. Have a great weekend, y'all.